Lucy Thompson, who was aged 16 in 1896, signed a deed to become an apprentice pottery decorator. Her apprenticeship was to last for 5 years. She completed about 2.5 years of her apprenticeship and then just stopped showing up. Her employer sued to enforce the deed. Now, Lucy's lawyers argued that the deed should not be binding on her because there's a rule that says minors can only be bound by beneficial contracts of employment or education. It's not automatic that a contract for employment or education will be binding. It has to be beneficial. It was argued that this contract was not beneficial because it included a provision that allowed the employer to stop paying Lucy if the pottery business was shut due to public holidays or the owner's incapacity. Lucy's lawyers argued that it was unfair and therefore not beneficial, that she could lose her pay when it wasn't her fault. Now, bear in mind, they weren't arguing that this was the reason why she ran away from her apprenticeship. That might have happened for any reason. They were arguing that because of this provision, the contract was no longer beneficial and so it couldn't be enforced. The question for the court was whether the principle that minors could only be bound by beneficial contracts of employment and education meant that every provision in the contract had to be beneficial to the minor. It should perhaps come as no surprise that the judges knocked back this argument. Justice Channell said, "The true question is whether the particular stipulation complained of is so unfair as to make the entire contract disadvantageous to the infant. You may find in any contract a clause which by itself is not to the advantage of the infant, but that is not enough. The contract as a whole must be disadvantageous." So the common law on this point is that a minor can be bound by a contract for employment or education, provided the contract is beneficial to them overall. The contract doesn't need to be a one-way street, but any provisions which are disadvantageous for the minor must be offset by provisions which are for their benefit.